I think that did it.
There
Good
we
morning,
are.
or actually good afternoon on the Eastern time zone. And I just want to say hi, Patty. It's good to see all these faces. I really appreciate all of you that participate in the conversations throughout the week in the Facebook group. I know everybody shares some personal things, and it helps me. So it's also good to see your faces. But I've had this question for a couple of weeks now, Aaron, and so I'm finally getting to the point where I feel like I need to ask it. I'm not really one that's experienced synchronicities. You see that a lot, you know, and some of these people talk about seeing 1111 and all this. And yeah, I've had deja vu once or twice in my life, of course, but I've never had these synchronicities. Well, I would say over the last couple of weeks, this one theme just keeps reoccurring, and it just really was obvious to me. I was like, why am I seeing this again? This doesn't make sense to me. And I've actually talked to Patty about it a little bit. Thank you, Patty. I really appreciate your insights. But towards the end of the course, I would say maybe week 6, 7, 8, and in my meditations, I really started having a really profound feeling of home, of being home, of a safety, of just a complete I'm home type feeling. Awesome feeling. I'd get out of that. And then throughout the course of the rest of the day or the rest of the week, I just had this homesickness, like this undaunting feeling of wanting to go home. And I don't want that to sound like, you know, I'm suicidal or something. I'm unhappy, or I'm depressed, or I don't want to be here. But I'm like, why am I here? I don't really want to be here. Because I know what that felt like, and I would rather be there. And so I'm starting to beat myself up over it. And then as I think through this, I know what you're going to say, but I actually started having feelings of guilt that I wanted to go there, because like I'm quitting on this, right? I chose to be here. At some point, I came here to experience this, and now I'm saying to myself, yeah, I really don't want to do this anymore. I think I'd rather just, let's pack it in, throw in the flag. Hey, this was a good time, y'all, but I want to go home, and that's it. So I don't understand why I have that feeling or what to do about it. I mean, I can't afford to just stay in deep meditation 24 hours a day, although it feels good, and not all the time. I'm not saying I'm some, master yogi, but obviously I have some, I don't want to say failed meditations. I have meditations where, you're like, okay, your mind really was wandering. You weren't really here. You weren't into this. But there are times when it's just profound, right? And I don't want to leave that, but you can't not. You have to get on. You have to get up. You have to go to work. You have to eat. You have to do things like that. So I just don't understand why I'm having this overwhelming feeling of homesickness. And the fact that I've seen it like everywhere in the last 2 weeks on the Facebook group. I mean, I'm scrolling through and there's another post of it. And I'm like, why do you keep presenting yourself to me? I'm supposed to get something here and I don't know what it is. So I'm going to ask.
I love this, man. I love hearing these words coming out of you, because it's just so beautiful to see this reflection of awakening happening. This is just one of the hallmarks of an awakening, is that you have a longing inside of you for, as you might say, returning home, finding my true nature, resting and abiding. I'm tired of doing and all this crap. And ego can hijack that, and will hijack that to create an escapist mentality. Well, then let's just get the fuck out of here, man. Like, this world sucks. I can be in bliss in heaven instead. And if you did that, what you would find is you would get to heaven and you'd be like, the whole point was to become heaven on earth. Like, I'm going to have to go back again and try it over again because I didn't do it this time. That's what the soul wants and is longing for, is that wherever you are home always, because you're always with yourself. You are always that. You are always the self. So if you really knew that, if you were really convicted of that, it wouldn't matter what was happening, what activities were going on, what thoughts are in your mind. The conviction, I am the self, would never leave you, which means the feeling of being home, the feeling of peace and tranquility would never leave you. And that's the message of non-doership, is that we divide ourselves from the self, or like I said, we sort of swallow it up with this belief that I'm doing the actions rather than the self is doing actions, right? If we have a bunch of gold ornaments and they're all like different trinkets and bracelets and necklaces and earrings and whatever, but it's all just gold, right? It's all just made of the same substance. If you're seeing the jewelry, you're not seeing the gold, right? Your attention is on the shape, the object. When you see the essence within the object, shining through the object, you become aware of gold. And then you're just seeing gold and not a piece of jewelry, not a bracelet or a necklace. In the same way, when you realize the self is all that exists and is always ever present, then you just see the self in everything, and every action you do, you see the self doing it. Every thought that appears, you see the self aware of it. And you're no longer cutting yourself off from being that feeling of being home, because it's not like you did some magical thing. You didn't climb to the highest mountaintop of, Zeus's mountain to attain enlightenment. You just got really clear on what's real, right? What's real is the gold. What's unreal is the bracelet, right? Yeah, we can wear the bracelet for a while and show it off and have fun with it, but we can't be attached to it when we know that it's not lasting. At some point, some pawn shop's gonna melt that thing down and make a new object out of it. The gold hasn't changed, but the object it was pervading changed, right? So why care about the objects once you know that the gold is ultimately what's real and what's valuable? So it's something just to contemplate when you feel that longing for being home. Use that feeling of longing as a point of inquiry. Because like I said a few weeks ago, we have to make a transition at some point where we're not the seeker anymore, but we're the finder, right? We start to look at our experience and go, no, what's true? What's reality? Am I separate from that? Am I anything but that? Can I be? Could I ever be? And you start investigating what's real and finding, yeah, no, I am that. I can't be anywhere but home. But if we're playing the seeker role forever, then we're always seeking, right? We're not going to find what we're looking for. So at some point, that seeking, we have to kind of let it go and say, okay, I've done a lot of seeking. It's been part of the journey. It's not wrong. But at this point, I'm tired of seeking. I'm really interested in finding. And you can start finding in your immediate experience right now. I just want to be home. Question, can I truly be anywhere else? And just sit with it. Don't rush to find an answer. Like plant that thought, that question, like a seed in your heart, and just give it time to ruminate. Just keep asking it. Can I be anywhere else? Is there anything but being home to what I really am? And a conviction will start to build, and the conviction will show you, no, there isn't anywhere else but home. The only reason I ever feel like I'm not home is because I'm paying attention to illusions too much, right? It's that outward focus. And as you see that the world isn't real, like we said, the focus just naturally turns inward. And the more inward it is, the more that realization of what you describe as being home is just more and more clear. And I promise you, like this isn't something like, don't make this an Olympus journey or something, right? Don't make this some far-reaching thing. It's absolutely available to everyone under the sound of my voice. Some of you could realize it today if you wanted it bad enough. You could sit there and just meditate on this and contemplate it, and grace could break through and it could become childlike in its simplicity. And that is always how it shows up, right? I know you would probably say this, Mark, when you do have that homeness feeling, whether it's in meditation or wherever, isn't it like, duh, of course this is what's real. Of course I'm always home. Well, how do I forget this? And then you go off and you work, and then you get lost again, right?
I keep coming back though, and I'm not saying my ego is any more clever than anybody else's, but I know mine's really good. And part of me, I didn't make this dance with myself, and I'm like you said earlier, you know what, just to hell with this veil, just put a match to it. I'm done with the veil. I don't need it anymore. I don't want it anymore. But I understand and I hear what you're saying, and I do believe that you're right. It can happen in the moment. I just need to continue to do the self-inquiry and stay focused on that. And I believe that I'm home. I just don't, sometimes I get lost on why I don't feel like I am. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's because I'm focusing on all those other things as opposed to what's real.
Yes, it's because, Mark, there's just inertia in the mind, right? From past conditioning. And because you are not the mind, you are not your conditioning. That means there isn't a way to stop it or slow it down or press a button or pull a lever to get it to stop. If you're not it, then you're completely not it. So it doesn't matter what kind of realization you may have. I mean, oftentimes having really dramatic breakthroughs and realizations will quiet the mind and even potentially kill a lot of the conditioning. But a lot of times they don't. And I've even heard Eckhart say this, even after his really dramatic awakening, the mind still had some inertia. And old Eckhart would come back and I'm such a loser, nobody likes me. But because reality was seen so clearly that I'm just awareness, I'm not a person, I'm not a body, I'm not a character in a story, I'm just pure infinite consciousness having an experience, then the thoughts were just there and instantly recognized as old patterns, just throwing out a fishing line, seeing if anyone will bite today to reel it in, and there's no one left to bite. So the mistake we make is defining ourselves based on our conditioning. Like if a thought appears, oh, it must define me somehow. It must mean I'm not very awakened yet. If the mind's noisy, it must mean I'm not very enlightened yet. And that's really the mistake we make. And when you see that that's completely false, then so much acceleration happens inside of you that will quiet those voices down. Because that's just another way of taking reality away from them. They don't define me because I'm not them. It's no different than a gust of wind or a cloud or a raindrop, right? It's just a happening. It's just an experience outside of me.
Notes.
A+ student.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Mark.